Hello and welcome to Business Africa with me, Ronald Kato. This week, Africa faces a race against time to increase food production as climate change, population growth and conflict constrain agricultural productivity. Genetically modified crops are being touted as the solution to ensuring food security, but concerns about trade and safety stand in the way. Plus, what does it take to export vegetables to the European market? We take you to Ghana, where a former banker has managed to do just that. Also, South Sudan is scrambling to increase oil output as Europe turns to African producers for its energy needs. Juba's crude production fell due to the pandemic and floods. Stay with us for the details. Thank you for joining us. Agriculture is the backbone of many African economies, but under pressure from a changing climate, poor seed quality and outdated farming practices, farm productivity is fast decreasing. Proponents of genetically modified crops say they have the potential to offset Africa's food security challenges and to change the fortunes of many African farmers.
As their populations continue to grow and with agricultural systems increasingly challenged by climate change, African countries are scrambling to find ways to increase food production and to ensure food and nutrition security. One of the solutions being suggested to remedy low agricultural productivity is the adoption of genetically modified crops. The number of countries planting biotech crops has grown from 3 in 2018 to over 10 in 2022. South Africa, Sudan, Egypt and Burkina Faso lead in the commercialization of GM crops. Even more countries are trialing various strains of GM seeds as the first step in a long approval process. Countries are mostly planting staples such as maize, sorghum and cowpea, as well as cash crops such as cotton and soybean. The value of Africa's GM market is forecast to reach an estimated $871 million by 2025. But opposition to the adoption of biotech crops is equally strong, with skeptics voicing concerns for the environment and human safety. Countries also worry that GM crops will hurt trade with the EU, Africa's largest export market. Despite having the biggest share of the world's arable land, Africa accounts for just 4% of global agricultural output. Productivity is affected by erratic weather patterns, poor seed quality, diseases and poor farming practices.
Doris Wangari is an agricultural biotechnologist and consultant. She joins us from Nairobi. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. How is the adoption of biotech crops going in Africa?
This year, 2022, it marks the 26th year when it comes to agricultural biotechnology globally. However, we have countries that are front runners within Africa, like South Africa, that have been commercializing the technology for quite a while. Right now, we have other countries that have come on board. As per the statistics of last year, we have about 13 countries now that have come on board in the commercialization of biotechnology products.
What is driving the interest, Doris? Why are countries getting interested in GM crops?
Majority of the African farmers that we have are actually small-scale farmers who are doing about an acre. Majority that you would deem as large-scale farmers would now be doing about 20 hectares. And they're riddled with a lot of challenges within the food system in terms of the farm inputs that they have, in terms of the climate aspect of it. We are in a country that is within the tropics. And agricultural biotechnology offers some of the benefits that would address this. Because around the tropics, you find that the pests and diseases thrive very well, and they're not seasonal like in other developed worlds. So we have them throughout the year. And with that, we have to face the challenge head on to ensure that regardless of the season for planting, that these small-scale farmers are safeguarded to ensure that they get the farm productivity. When we look at the benefits that agricultural biotechnology stands to offer, one of them is addressing food security. And here we have a promise that it will improve the crop yields in the farm. There is a promise of also increasing the nutritional quality of some of these food crops.
Talk about the regulatory frameworks and the biosafety regime. One of the reasons many countries are still reluctant is the concerns for the environment and human safety.
You find that for the adoption of the technology, like any other, there is need for public acceptance. And indeed, Africa is very slow when it comes to the enabling policy environment. Out of the 10 countries so far that have commercialized, only about 6 would have a regulatory system in place. And many of these countries, it would be needed that they have an act or a legal instrument that would ensure that they put this in place. Some of the countries that we find have very strong policy environments are like Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana. Unfortunately, some of the other African countries do not have a legal instrument, though they're still conducting some research around this. And this would be the case of Uganda and even Tanzania.
What is Africa missing, Doris, in terms of the economy by being slow to roll out GMOs?
When it comes to the delay in this decision-making process, you find that you also delay in getting the commodity to the farmer's hands. And with that, there are economic implications. Countries that have adopted the technology, for the case of South Africa, which was the first, they documented about 200 million gains, economic gains, from this technology with the crops that they were growing.
Doris Wangari, nice to have you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, too.
Now, Felix Kamasa quit his banking job nearly 10 years ago to become a farmer. Today, he grows 47 different crops on 700 acres of land. This report from Peter Adatol in Ghana's Volta region.
When Felix Mauli Kamasa was quitting his banking job in 2013 to venture into farming, he did not know it would blossom into a thriving enterprise of this scale. But nearly a decade after, he has become noted for fresh vegetable export.
Beginning it was tough, but now there's a lot of requests that people want to understand the farming industry. They want to know what exactly is happening, and they also want to do based on their motivation.
Felix and his wife now have a 1,900-acre land at Tajavu in the Ketu North municipality of the Volta region, where they grow all kinds of vegetables. Their company, Maflix Tracts Ghana Limited, is the go-to source for local and exotic fruits, tubers and roots for the export market.
I can assure you that every Sunday we ship about 8 tons of okra to Europe, and the demand is so high.
Agriculture in Ghana accounts for over 40% of export earnings and contributes to 54% of GDP. And with over 90% of the food needs of a country coming from agriculture, Felix Mauli Kamasa is looking to help the country attain food sufficiency despite the known challenges.
Every field there's challenges, but don't let the challenges to overcome you. Even to put the food itself in the mouth, there's a challenge. So we are trying to do it better than where we are now.
He hopes to spearhead a fresh wave of innovative agribusinesses to draw down on the close to $2 million spent annually on import of food.
Ghana, we are blessed. We have a unique weather where we think that when we're able to put our feet on the ground or we come together strongly, it will help.
He wants policies to encourage local farmers to harness the abundant resources available in Ghana.
They should involve the private sectors, especially when they are talking about agribusiness, something concerned about agribusiness.
Felix Mauli Kamasa is using his Mayflex Trust initiative to also support outgrowers within the enclave and beyond.
So Europe is shopping around for new energy suppliers as it moves ahead with plans to quit Russian oil. African oil producers are scrambling to increase output, and South Sudan, whose production fell in 2021, is one of them.
South Sudan is scrambling to raise its oil output, which fell to 156,000 barrels per day (BPD) in 2021 from 170,000. The country's finance ministry has cited COVID-19 and heavy flooding in the oil-producing regions for the fall in output. The ministry says South Sudan earned $1.4 billion in gross oil revenues in 2021. African oil producers are keen to leverage the opportunities presented by sanctions on Russia and Europe's quest to wean itself off Russian energy. Before the pandemic and floods, South Sudan's oil sector was struggling to recover from years of conflict. The sector is also beset by allegations of corruption. In January, major donors demanded authorities make data on oil and other revenues public. South Sudan depends on oil for 95% of its foreign exchange earnings. The country aims to increase production to 300,000 barrels per day by 2025.
And that wraps up this episode of Business Africa. I am Ronald Kato. The news continues on air and online. Bye for now, and I'll see you on the next episode of Business Africa.